Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And of course, we wish a Shabbat Shalom to all of our brothers and sisters who are at our pop-up minyan in Ann Arbor today as well. Shabbat Shalom to all of them. It is wonderful to see you all. It's wonderful to be able to celebrate Ufrafs together, to be able to come together to celebrate Shabbat. We went through an interesting moment in the late 90s and early 2000s. To be fair, we had a lot of interesting moments in the late 90s and the early 2000s, but one thing I'm thinking of in particular is that here in America, in the late 90s and the early 2000s, we became obsessed with world records. It was this huge thing. Almost every house you went to had the Guinness Book of World Records as a coffee table book. And there were numerous, and it was always on the bestseller list, and they came out with a new one every year, which, spoiler, had many of the same world records, but it had a fancy different cover or different color of cover, and so more people bought it each and every year. And there were multiple shows on TV. Not just one, there were multiple Guinness World Record shows. And the whole idea, the purpose, was to get people to come, either live or tape whatever they're doing, and to break a world record. And we loved it. It was this great moment in Americana where we were all breaking world records everywhere. And then we noticed that things started to get a little weird, because no longer was it just about breaking a world record, and usually a really cool one as far as when it first started. There were people doing land speed records and really interesting things. It got to a point where people just did world records, but in a weird way. That instead of doing however many push-ups in an hour, people did 100 push-ups or however many push-ups in an hour blindfolded. Which doesn't make any sense. And that became the niche for everything that happened. It was always blindfolded. The fastest mile, blindfolded. The most hula hoops in a row, consecutively, blindfolded. And we got to a point where we were just like, this is just getting strange. Because especially for us as Jews, I think we have this idea that doing something blindfolded doesn't actually necessarily make it hard. In fact, when it comes to some of the most difficult things that we do, especially as Jews, especially when we're trying to uphold the ideals of our Torah and of our rabbis, having those blinders on, putting on a blindfold makes things easier. It makes it easier. And we see a case in point when we look at our rabbinic literature. Because our rabbis, who are brilliant, who are supposed to be paragons of ethics, who are supposed to be upholding our ideas of morality in a way that is truly holy, they are really, really good blindfolded. Incredibly good blindfolded. The ideas that permeate and radiate through the Talmud are twofold. One, Ahavat Yisrael, an unwavering love for the people of Israel. No question. There is a defense of the people of Israel wherever they show up. And two, an idea of dan l'chaf zchut, that we should always judge people and give people the benefit of the doubt. Those ideas blindfolded are kind of the heart of the Talmud. And I'll give you a few examples to show you just how far they take these different models. One of which, I think Rabbi Starr mentioned this a couple months ago, is the idea that a Sanhedrin, this Jewish rabbinical court, if there was one capital punishment in that year of the Sanhedrin, it was considered a bloodthirsty Sanhedrin. One. They got a bad name of being bloodthirsty. There's another example. We have a bunch of different ideas in our Torah about crimes that are punishable by death. But according to the rabbis, the way that you're actually found guilty of some of these crimes, so for example, the crime of murder, our rabbis tell us quite clearly in the Talmud, to be guilty of murder, you have to be pursuing someone actively with a weapon. 2 witnesses have to be there, and they have to warn you that what you're doing or what you're about to do is an Isser Deoraita, that it is forbidden by Torah and punishable by death. And then if you respond by saying, I know that it's punishable by death and I'm still going to do it, then you're guilty. Which never happens. Another example, the Ben Sorer B'Moreh, the wayward son, which is a token idea of legality in the Talmud. And what do they say? In order to convict someone of being a rebellious and wayward son, they have to be in a very specific age, right after puberty has started, but before puberty has finished. They have to sit in the place of their father, they have to physically assault one of their parents, and they have to drink at least 2 log of wine, which is an incredible amount of wine. It is to say that if the rabbis are doing this right, no one is ever punished. And it comes from this idea of Ahavat Yisrael and Dan L'Chafzut, that these 2 ideas are to say, we always give our brothers and sisters the benefit of the doubt, and we judge everyone with the idea of Ahavat Yisrael, that we have an undying love for the Jewish people, and we protect them in every way we can. And so, it's fascinating that when we get to this parasha, and the blindfold comes off, and no longer are we talking about legal theory, no longer are we talking about case law or jurisprudence, we are talking about specific examples of individuals. That when we get to our parasha, the rabbis see Esau, and they wreck him. They destroy him in the Talmud. Esau, who is the brother of Jacob, who is also the son of Rebekah, who has the same idea of yichus, the same Jewishness of coming from his mother's womb that his brother does. And if we look at the Peshat, if we look at the text that's in front of us, if anyone is deserving of a little constructive criticism in our Torah portion, it might be Jacob. Esau is guilty of being hungry, of being a glutton, of selling his birthright over to his brother, giving his birthright over to his brother for a pot of soup. But Jacob steals. Jacob lies. Jacob betrays the trust of his family. And yet when our rabbis see this story, they have a preconceived notion in their head of who's supposed to be good, who's supposed to be bad. So they offer apologetics for Jacob, and for Esau, he gets destroyed. How badly does he get destroyed? Not only do the rabbis say that he is evil and wicked from birth, but even before birth. Our rabbis say in the Talmud, they create more midrash to even talk about how he was evil in the womb. And it says that while Rebekah was pregnant with both of her children, whenever they would cross nearby a synagogue or a place of learning, Jacob would try to come out and be born so he could go study. But whenever they passed a place of idol worship, Esau would try to come out so he could go worship idols. It's a little addendum to make a person who is thrown under the bus by the rabbis even more wicked. And what is the ultimate crime our rabbis say that Esau did? Does anyone know by chance why the rabbis hate Esau so much? Here's a spoiler, it's not in the Torah at all. They say that the reason Esau is so wicked is because he killed the king of Babel. He killed Nimrod, who was the king of Babylon, and sparked all of the aggression that Babylon had to the Jewish people thereafter. It's not in the Torah. And they make it even worse by saying that Esau did this. He killed Nimrod, the king of Babel, because he liked the king's coat. He liked his coat so much that he wanted to kill him and steal it. When we have our blindfolds on, legal theory, the mitzvot of our Torah, the ethics of our rabbis is straightforward. It's easy. This is what we're supposed to do. We know what we're supposed to do. These are the laws that we follow. But when we take our blindfolds off and we see personally the people that are the hardest to love, that we have a preconceived idea of who don't follow in our ways, then that legal theory becomes a little bit different. And we have to ask ourselves, what is the ultimate idea of what we're supposed to be doing as Jews? It's hard enough. But what our rabbis want us to do, what our rabbis fail to do, and what we're charged with doing, is to take off our blindfolds and do something that's really, really hard and do it with intentionality and erase all of the ambiguity that comes with theory. So I'm not saying anything brand new or mind-blowing in any way. But what I'm hoping to do is to emphasize an idea that this is really, really hard. That we can say the things that we're supposed to do. And yet, at the same time, there is not an asterisk in the Torah or the Talmud that says, by the way, here are the people that you don't have to do it for. As we just finished this week of Thanksgiving, we know how hard it can be to be with people, family members, friends, strangers, with whom we vehemently disagree, and to have certain conversations or to do something that we know that we're supposed to do is hard. It's hard to do it. And yet this is our charge. Because you know how long it took before the rabbis gave Esau a fair shake? 1,700 years before there was a rabbinic comment that did a little dan l'chafsut and gave Esau the benefit of the doubt. It wasn't until the Hasidic rabbis came and offered their Torah commentary that Esau ever got treated like a Jew, like someone that we have Ahavat Yisrael for, that we dan l'chafsut, that we give the benefit of the doubt. Our job as Jews is to do the hardest part. And the hardest part is to do things without a blindfold. Because we know that sometimes with the blindfold it's easier. That when we do the ideas of Bikur Cholim, of visiting the sick, of giving tzedakah, of treating people with kindness and compassion, it's easy to do that for the people that we love. And it's easier to do that for strangers sometimes too. But what we are charged with doing as Jews is to break records. We are supposed to break the records that we have set for ourselves, and we're supposed to do it in a way that is tough. Not to do it with some nuance to make it unique and easier. We are supposed to find the people in our lives that are hard, that are challenging, that make us frustrated, that make us angry, that might make us sad. And you know what? Those same people, we're also bound. We're also tethered to them in the same way of treating them with love and respect. It's not earth-shattering. It's not brand new. But it's what we have to set up for ourselves. Because at this time in our lives where all of us know how polarized this country is, how much tension, how much hatred, it's not one thing to just do mitzvahs for the people we like, and the mitzvot for people with whom we agree. If we want to uphold the ideas of Ahavat Yisrael, of love for the Jewish people, and dan l'chafsut, of being able to judge people with favorability, to give people the benefit of the doubt, then it's time to set records. And the records that we need to break, the records we need to set, are to be exemplars of what it means to live a life of Torah, of kindness and goodness and peace and Yiddishkeit, even for the people with whom we might disagree, even with the people we don't like. That is our charge. As we go into the Shabbat of Tol Dot, where there is so much tension and there is so much animosity in our Torah, we remind ourselves that even our best teachers aren't perfect. But like all good teachers, we can learn from their mistakes sometimes more than we can learn from their successes. I wish all of us a Shabbat of peace, of coming together, and of setting records. Shabbat Shalom.